Mr. Chairman, Mr. Director, in 2012, John Spencer, Chief of Firearms Technology Branch, wrote a letter to Alex Bosco, inventor of stabilizing brace. We've talked about this letter already. He said, based on our evaluation, FTB finds that the submitted firearm brace, when attached to a firearm, does not convert that weapon to be fired from the shoulder and would not alter the classification of a pistol or other firearm. You're aware of this letter?
I am aware of the letter, yes.
Did Congress pass, between this letter being issued to Mr. Bosco and the production and distribution of 10 to 40 million of these braces and the implementation of your rule, did Congress pass a law? What changed?
Congress did not pass a law, but something did change. What changed is that that item that was submitted was not produced and was not the item that was marketed. And Mr. Bosco, I think, before this committee said that people were using stabilizing braces in ways that he hadn't anticipated.
Okay, let me challenge that assertion. So you say that the brace changed, and so you had to implement this rule. Well, I've got here the actual original brace that this letter was responsive to. Are you telling me that this brace is exempt from your rule?
What I'm saying is that if people have products that are not
designed... Is this brace exempt from your rule?
I can't sit here and classify.
This is the brace you wrote the letter to.
Classification, and if it's not ruled to be attached as a short-barreled rifle, it will not be subject to the rule.
Would you please quit telling this committee that the brace has changed and that's why you did the rule when in fact you're not exempting the same brace that you gave this letter to?
If the brace is submitted, we'll classify it.
Do you still have the same agreement that this brace that the ATF agreed to in 2012 should not be under the jurisdiction of your rule?
If that brace is submitted with a firearm, we will examine and classify it. If it doesn't qualify...
Okay, reclaiming my time because it's pretty obvious you're misleading people here when you say that the brace has changed because your rule affects the braces that didn't change. How many days have passed? How many days do people have to comply with this rule?
They can always comply, but the initial period...
Before they're felons?
But the initial period, I believe... ends at the end of May.
Okay.
But people
end of May. So and it was 120 days. Is that correct?
People are only felons if they intentionally
Is it 120 days?
The law. I believe it's 120 days from the date.
So we've got 36 days left of the 120-day grace period. Can you tell us here today how many people have complied by registering this product?
I am not sure of the exact number. I can check, though, and get back to you. There are people who are making applications. There also can be detachment. So in other words, we don't count. That's not for us to regulate. If somebody we wrote the rule to make it easy to comply with. If somebody just at their home detaches the weapon from the brace and keeps them apart, they do not have to register anything. They can keep the brace. They can keep the business end of the gun.
Okay, that's a great clarification. So you're not going to do some kind of constructive prosecution where you say, oh, you had this and you had that and you intended to connect them?
They
can just keep them separately?
Them as we
keep them separately. Okay, because that's not clear in your rules. What is the punishment if somebody is convicted as a felon under having this piece of plastic?
If people are convicted of not following the Gun Control Act, it's a serious felony conviction, but that requires intent.
Can you just give me the number? Is it 10 years?
I believe it's a statutory maximum of 10 years.
10 years for owning a piece of plastic that you were told was legal and that you owned for a decade and that millions of people did? This is what offends the sensibilities of Americans, whether they own these or not. Do these make the gun fire more rapidly?
The stabilizing.
Do these increase the muzzle velocity?
The stabilizing.
Do these allow You're not answering any of the questions. Do these allow the firearm to carry more bullets?
The stabilizing braces allow, if they're the kind that count, allow the firearm to be shouldered.
Let me ask you
this.
That Congress I'm glad you brought that up. So this is a stabilizing brace here. Here's a pistol without a stabilizing brace. Does the buffer tube, could that be shouldered?
Again, that would have to be submitted to the firearms experts at A.T.F. and we could classify it.
Do you think you have the authority to reclassify this pistol as a short-barreled rifle simply because it has a buffer tube?
Again, the rule is aimed at clarifying, and there are specific factors that are set forth in the rule.
Do you think you have the authority to reclassify the firearm above because it can be shouldered?
Again, for me to sit here and try to do a classification that firearms experts who've worked for decades do would not be appropriate. But we will give classifications, and if things don't qualify under the rule, then they don't qualify. And nobody, the piece of plastic in and of itself is absolutely not covered by the rule.
I submit you don't have that authority, and you don't have the authority to do what you did. I yield back.
The gentleman yields. Next, I'd like to recognize.
Hey, before you click on the next video, if y'all could do me a big favor and hit that like button. The algorithm loves it, and so do I, because it helps promote these videos and get the message out about what our government has been doing. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications, because every time I put out a video, you want to know about it, right? Thanks again, and have a good one. See you on the next one. Peace.